Hello, everybody, and thank you for this week's edition of Trade the Chains AMA. It is September 7th. I'm joined by our Director of Research, Nick Mancini, as well as the TIE CEO and co-founder, Josh, who we all like. He brings us great stuff.
I'm glad that people like me.
This week's been an interesting week. If you've been following our daily shows, Nick's show, my show, we've been talking a lot about the market. And if you haven't subscribed to Nick's show, just subscribe. It's the smartest 15 minutes of your day you can possibly give away. Right now, as we speak, there's a little uptick in both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Coming off some really low local lows. Actually, I think they're the all-time for the year, right, Nick, if I'm not mistaken?
For crypto, no, Bitcoin just tagged 1K above the lows. So lows was about 17.5, just above. Yesterday was, or last night, I should say, pardon me, was 18.5K. It tagged.
All right, so
near perfection. It
was getting down there, and as well as we have the merge news coming into effect for next week, and so a lot of people are trying to play into that, make some wins, both with Ethereum Classic, and we're going to discuss that a little bit. But I'm going to hand it off to Nick real quick, talk about the markets and where sentiment is driving to, and then after that we'll go to Josh, and we're going to go cover over some of the most interesting stories of the week. Because there are some, and quite honestly, when we're in a winter, news stories tend to be the most exciting thing we can do anyway. So, Nick, I hand it over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Can we all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think the biggest and most obvious example of what's been going on in the markets is very easily understood by the sentiment charts. Bitcoin, as you can see, majority red in bearish to neutral territory, while Ethereum has been majority in bullish to neutral territory. Obviously, there is some volatility within, as reflected also on the price chart by in Bart Simpson and then inverse Bart Simpson. And so it's actually a Batman. I think they call that a Batman formation now. Literally, I'm actually not even kidding. It's everything is a meme these days. But basically, moral of the story is Bitcoin sentiment has been bearish. Ethereum sentiment has been more or less bullish. Aside from all the volatility, I think the easiest demonstration of this strength versus weakness, and let me pull up this chart, is the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart. And I know this is 5 minute, but we'll go ahead and zoom out to the, and what you are seeing on the sentiment chart is clearly reflected on the price chart. Ethereum has been much stronger than Bitcoin throughout the majority of, well, I guess at least half of the year so far. But if you would have bought, if on day one of this year, technically looking at the chart, Ethereum has been the better asset to hold for the past 9 months. So sentiment has very much been a fascinating and beneficial leading indicator for anyone trading, wanting to trade the strength versus the weakness. And of course, you can make opposing trades here, or you can just trade and go long ETH. It seems, if I wish, hindsight's 2020, I wish on day one, Alex would have called me up and said long Ethereum, short Bitcoin. We'd be a little bit more rich than we are right now. But at the end of the day, if you were not watching the sentiment charts, this may have not, the confidence to make these kinds of trades may not have been there without sentiment. So it's, I would continue to watch that, because I guess the one moral of the story is ETH Bitcoin is coming up at resistance, which is where we would expect either some consolidation and potentially a claw back down. And Bitcoin sentiment is trying to poke out of bearish territory after hovering there for the better part of 5 days. So something to consider, that, the trend doesn't last forever. The merge is coming up. That may flip the narrative in terms of interest and trading attention. So definitely, definitely watch this tweet volume. Definitely watch daily sentiment and for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And we may just get a signal on what the stronger trade will be towards mid to late September.
So let's go over, kind of top news stories. So one of the most talked about news stories today is Ripple advisor teases more CBDC announcements in the next few weeks. I don't really care about what asset it is. I care more about CBDCs broadly. What do you guys think about CBDCs, bullish or bearish for crypto?
I think so. The two sides of the coin. One is it could potentially suck liquidity away from stable coins, which really prop up the majority of the market. So without understanding how CBDCs would support the crypto markets and potentially how it would, if it's completely separated from the crypto market and it's not, there's no BTC to CBDC trading pair, then, you know, and with CBDs, they outlaw stable coins, and that's horrible for crypto because then there's no liquidity underpinning the system. And clearly we've been over this for years. Alex and I talked about this years ago, is the issuance of stable coins is directly correlated to the growth of the ecosystem, very similarly to the printing of USD is correlated with massive increases in the stock market. So if the CBDC comes with an outlaw of stable coins and stable coins get sucked away from the market, horrible for crypto. But if CBDCs come in and work with stable coins and present a potential other pair, and stable coins are unaffected or just have to come under a little bit more stringent regulation, I don't see that as being a bad thing long term. But I could see a lot of volatility around the market getting a good signal whether or not CBDCs come to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, just coming, just from using the word sentiment perspective, if CBDCs, start controlling what that currency is going to be, it's going to be a bad day for crypto, because all we're doing is just reverting back to the traditional old systems that we've worked so hard for to get away from. And it's not going to be any different if that happens. It's just going to be a different type of medium that they're using. So I think it's a no-brainer. It shouldn't happen. It can't happen. And I don't think people will let it. I don't think the market will necessarily let it happen. One of the interesting things, Josh, that came out the other day, someone very prominent said, crypto is too big and too powerful to ban. And I think that's the case. I think that's the truth. I think we've come too far.
Yeah.
I mean, the government's gonna ban something that they have an ETF on? I don't see that happening. Why would they? When would that have ever happened?
Yeah, keep in mind the U.S. isn't the only government in the world, too, right? So I think we sometimes live in a vacuum. But yeah, obviously the U.S. is the most important. And look, banning crypto is a big term, but I think the U.S. can certainly do things around like creating a ton of barriers on fiat on and off ramps, and they can put dumb regulation in place that hinders and hurts the industry, right? So maybe banning is maybe too big to ban is a new term that we're coining here.
I like it,
but I think that they could still hurt crypto a lot. I think there's still ways. Let's go into, and I got a couple more news stories. Let's riff on this. Speed takes 30 seconds. ETH forks, ETC and others mooning because of Ethereum miners basically panicking because they're not going to have any Ethereum to mine anymore. And now they're trying to prop up, I'm just kidding, garbage proof of work tokens. So curious as to your take. Is this a long-term, short-term trend? Is this an investable trend? Is this a tradable trend? What do you guys think?
I'm gonna hand it over to Nick. He just spoke. He's just covered the trade.
This is in relation to the merge?
Yeah, with the merge, right? All the miners basically being like, hey, well, now we can't mine ETH because it's proof of stake, so let's fork it or let's mine ETC.
Yeah, so I don't know about the sustainability, and I'm not going to trade it in really one direction or the other, like in terms of a swing trade merge. But I do think that if Ethereum, if you're bullish on ETH, then there's no reason not to be bullish on Ethereum Classic. It has a comfortable narrative now. We don't know exactly what miners will and won't do, and I'm not going to listen to anybody in crypto telling me what they are and aren't going to do a week before the big event. So I think there's the best way to trade it is just as a high beta play compared to Ethereum. But I have a feeling as the merge approaches, it's going to decay. So my thesis is that Ethereum is going to continue to pump into at least Sunday, and I would assume Ethereum Classic would follow on a high beta. or with a high beta. But I would assume that ETH would probably start pulling back around Sunday, Monday, and then Ethereum Classic would really take a hit, because I don't think, although the miners may go and mine Ethereum Classic, what else is going on? So maybe it
Yeah,
has a
look, I
flash
think
pump.
the thing that's interesting is you have to consider like BSV, right? Totally garbage. We know it's garbage.
Bring that up.
But there's folks behind it that have a ton of money. And occasionally the thing goes to the moon because there's not enough liquidity. And some of the people that have a financial stake in it decide that they want it to do well. I think it's possible with ETC that it has days like that, right? Where ETC just goes crazy because the miners are trying to, I think the miners are going to try to prop up a narrative around ETC or any other ETH related, fork, basically being like, look, the miners have invested hundreds of millions of dollars, whatever the number is, in equipment and facilities and resources to do it. And if those guys are well capitalized, right, I think they can make, I don't think it's a sustainable push on ETC, but I do think they can make short-term pushes. And I'm not suggesting a specific day in which it happens, but I do think that there may be some power behind it and some ability to make some noise.
I think
we just discussed on the Daily Show the fact that Alex and I both kind of agreed that if the ETH merge is successful, it pumps immediately and then has a pretty ugly probably several red candles on higher time frame charts. So
I think that's possible, but I think it can then bounce with another really big green candle back at some point too.
I mean, the volatility would definitely be welcome.
It's had its moments. It's gone with the market before. I think what's happening with the merge is the biggest thing to happen to Ethereum Classic since it was invented. It's
bigger than all the 51%.
I mean, listen, it's a coin that's been attacked, 51% attacked 3 times, in the last 2 years. It
hasn't been 51% attacked in like a year.
That is true. I had Liz Kuka, who head of Ethereum Classic, on my show, and she explained what they did to prevent it from further happening. But I really don't. What is Ethereum Classic used for? What is it? When you think of Ethereum Classic, it's a nothing burger.
The only thing I think about is Barry Silver's bags. That's it.
That is true. That's a good point. And right there is
for ETC.
Right there is enough of a point to just shut up about it and move on.
All right, let's go next.
How's that Zcash trade working out for Barry?
Let's go to next point here. Let's go, keep it quick. Market bracing for another 3/4 point hike from the Fed this month.
100% going to happen. It's going to be, we're going to be at an even 5% by the end of the year, Josh.
And what happens once we get 5%?
I don't know. I've only gotten that far.
The market rolls back over to go bullish again, or at least we maybe range.
How much
range
has crypto overcorrected? Right?
No.
Okay.
No.
So there's more pain
corrected exactly. I think what most people expected.
The Bitcoin will hit new lows by the end of the month.
How far?
And that'll be it. And then from there, we go to the end of the year. We hit 5% rate hikes in total, and we start the long process of licking our wounds and recovering.
All right, let's keep it going. Anything else that's interesting?
I don't even know if I agree with that. Like
you mentioned the FTX. The FTX,
we've already moved on, Nick. You can't disagree with me now. Okay, we're on to the next subject.
FTX GameStop partnership. Doesn't matter. Does anybody care? And our NFTs used.
I didn't even know that happened. So that tells you how insignificant that news is.
Well, look, it also shows you that in a bull market, all of these things, which are totally inconsequential in a somewhat rational market, though I think we've overcorrected to the point where we're not really in a rational market either, right? But it shows you that this news that in a bull market would move the price of an asset by FTT and any other FTT a year ago with the GameStop partnership would have ripped 30%. Now literally no one cares. You didn't even know. I don't know what's FTT doing today. I have no clue. It's up 1.7%, which is less than Bitcoin and way less than ETH. So
yeah, FTT is underperformed.
I've never even heard of a good FTT trade. I mean, I've never even traded it myself. It's never gotten on the radar. NFTs, they're having the worst performance out of every crypto asset.
The other piece of news, which I had pulled up, Trezor and Wasabi to implement a CoinJoin mixing scheme into hardware wallets. Curious move. I'm curious as to what the regulators think about that, though I can presume I know the answer to that question. My question is more on this idea of mixing services broadly. We saw the US come up and basically try to sanction and basically blacklist any address that had interacted with a mixing service. And then one person on Twitter, I forgot who it was, fantastic idea, decided, let's send celebrities a bunch of coins. Like, let me put money into a mixing service and then send it to celebrities and very notable people's addresses. Will we get any rational discourse around mixing services? Are there any reasons to use mixing services that are not illicit? What is the future of mixing, services, especially if, the government is going to try to come after the developers behind these projects?
I don't think, first, I don't think you can use the word mixer and if they're not illicit in the same sentence. But I'm
going to take a hot take, which somebody told me, not my take. Coinbase is a mixing service. Any exchange is technically
any exchange is, of course. Yeah. It's a laundromat if you want to look at it. You can look at it any way you want. Mixers do serve a purpose, particularly in the hyper transparent thing called blockchain that we all live and work on, because Warren Buffett doesn't want to know people, want everybody to know that he's taking home $1 billion in cash to his closet at home, and neither do people in crypto. So I think mixers do have a service. I mean, listen, I'm not involved with any of the scandalous stuff, but I have plenty of friends who've let's say dusted over their tracks so people can't target them. I think they do have a service.
Yeah, I don't consider it. I mean, it's just like I think we talked about this a while back, or I mentioned this in some way, shape, or form. It's just like Tor browser. Tor browser, I mean, if you listen to Fox News, then Tor browser is only for selling drugs. But if you actually look into what Tor browser is, it was created by the government for anonymous browsing for both the needs of government and citizens that need things like that, witness protection, or for U.S. based or expatriates who potentially have supported the U.S. government, things like that. So are we going to ban Tor browser because it anonymizes internet browsing and I can go do whatever I want without the full force of the authorities looking down my throat on my all of my search history? So it's the same thing in reference to the mixing services. Is like, in my opinion, it serves a purpose, and just because someone can use it nefariously doesn't mean you completely outlaw it. If that was the case, then again, why do we still use cash? Because I mean, I don't know who's using electronic transfers to buy drugs or weed and cocaine and things like that, so but the vast majority of people use cash for extremely normal, everyday, perfectly legal things. And when you look at the mixing services stats, the majority of them were also used for everyday things. When it came down to it, the wallets that were used or that were found at the end of the mixing trail were not, the vast majority were not doing illegal things, or were not hackers, or were not, black hats and things like that. So just because someone uses the service for something that it was unintended for does not mean you outlaw the entire service, in my opinion. Or else, if that was the case, then everything in life would be outlawed, because I could use a computer to whack Alex on the head, which is assault. You're gonna outlaw computers, So it's at the end of the day, where do we draw the line?
Yeah, that's about it.
Cool. I mean, I got one more thing. If you guys got one more.
All right, bring it on.
And I want Alex's opinion on this one. I don't want yours, Nick. So Rare teams up with the NBA for a new NFT fantasy basketball game. Thoughts?
Wait, say that one more time.
So Rare teams up with NBA for a new NFT fantasy basketball game. French startup So Rare originally launched a fantasy football soccer game. This year, the company is expanding to new sports, blah, 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 whatever.
Ooh,
So Rare will launch an officially licensed NFT-based fantasy basketball game this fall. It will be called So Rare NBA. Unlike other So Rare games, players will be able to buy and sell digital cards representing basketball players. Users can then put together lineups of basketball players and earn points based on real life performances.
It's Top Shot's already gone there. Yeah, this is second through the hole in the wall. So
it just feels to me like brands are trying to come up with easy ways to make more money.
100%. You saw the Tiffany thing, right? And how they did real jewelry for the NFT holders, and it was like, I don't know how many millions of dollars, but it's these brands are ridiculous. I'm not an NFT fan right now. I'm very bearish, except for Platypunks and Pudgy Penguins. But other than that, they're useless, and NFTs are still finding their place and maturing into what their use case is going to be. So I don't care what the celebrity is. If they offer an NFT, I'm not buying it. It makes no sense. As a matter of fact, everybody I know who's bought an NFT this year has lost money trying to resell it.
What happened with Top Shot's partnership with the NBA? Like that was also shocking to me today, that like, why are they going with another company?
It doesn't matter. Top Shots killed it. Top Shots killed it. And Top Shots came from, what is it? I had them on the show too. They're one of my episodes.
Dapper Labs.
Yeah, Dapper Labs, man. And Dapper Labs is like the OGs of this crap. So Top Shot.
They Crypto Kitties is the OG, right? So
Crypto Kitties, man.
The one thing though
that never took off
that I will add, which is quite interesting. I just had on my podcast Thomas Chen, who's the head of sales at BitGo, and he mentioned that there's a lot of demand, which is really interesting, from Fortune 200 companies for NFT custody because they're rolling out NFT projects.
What is a Fortune 200 company?
I don't know. There's a list of 200 companies from Fortune, and apparently that's the companies on the list. I don't know. Those are his words, not my words.
You're telling me companies are calling up him over at BitGo and asking for institutional custody of NFTs now. Well, what are they doing? Carrying them on their treasuries?
Yeah. Oh, calling BitGo up for NFT custody.
Huh. There's a lot of crap going on I don't know of anymore then. I must be so out of the loop. This is ridiculous.
Honestly, the Bored Ape Yacht Club community could probably use that service, considering how much they've been hacked.
They get stolen all the time over there. What's his name? Paid how much money? $200,000 to get it back.
Seth Green.
Yeah, Seth Green.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Or maybe it wasn't Seth Green. It was a celebrity that happened to. It might have been Seth Green though, because I remember he was trying to do a Bored Ape show or something like that.
Yeah, and there was a star. His Bored Ape was the star of the show, and then someone hacked him, and he paid 200,000 ransom to get it back. You got to love those people with those kind of problems. Josh, thank you so much for being on the AMA this week. Really appreciate it. Folks, if you haven't, please visit tradethechain.com. Sign up for the free newsletter. We go in depth on Mondays, and we have our coins on the move on Thursdays, and then we have just a daily recap of everything you should be paying attention to Monday through Friday. It's absolutely free, so sign up for it. Get it. If you don't like it, unsubscribe. You won't hurt our feelings. And then, of course, the daily show with Nick Mancini over there. Best 15 minutes of your day you can do. Josh, our partner in crime with data, the Tide provides a lot of power to trade the chain for what you folks use. So we will be here next Wednesday for our AMA. And we hope you can join us. We're sorry that Ryan had to be out today. He is currently traveling, as well as Doug the Everyman DeRosa. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.